So you want to get into hockey cards, but you don't know where to begin. Between the many different types of products and types of cards available, getting into the hobby can seem a little daunting at first. In How to Hockey Card, we'll go over everything related to sports card collecting with a focus on the hockey card world. Over the course of this series, you'll learn key terms, different ways to collect, the best way to buy cards, how to build your collection, and many more useful tips and tricks along the way. Hey everyone, my name is Tyler, and welcome to the first episode of How to Hockey Card, a YouTube video series that is dedicated towards helping everyone improve their collecting knowledge. In today's episode, we're going to go over the history of hockey cards to give you some backstory on how the industry started, how it's evolved over time, and where it currently sits. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the history of hockey cards. To get the full backstory on the history of hockey cards, we have to travel back to the late 1800s, where the first resemblance of hockey cards appeared to the world. These cards generally depicted people playing ice polo, however, some of them did reference hockey. Generally speaking, these cards weren't like your traditional sports cards, instead they were more like miniature postcards used as advertisements, and not actual hockey cards because they weren't part of a specific set. That leads us to the early 1900s, where tobacco companies began putting sports cards in their cigarette packs as a marketing ploy to entice consumers. These were seen from 1910 to 1913 before the NHL even existed and featured players like George Vezina and Art Ross. However, the production of cards was stopped due to World War I and didn't pick up again until the mid-1920s, where more food and candy companies, especially chewing gum ones, got involved. This included o-pee-chee, which is one of the more iconic hockey card brands in the entire world. Once again, however, the production of hockey cards stopped during World War II and they did not reappear until Parkhurst released their 1951 set. 3 years later, o-pee-chee began making cards again, along with Topps also joining in. Their cards ended up being more favored by collectors, leading to Parkhurst dropping their production of cards in 1964. This led to o-pee-chee and Topps being the main supplier of hockey cards from the 60s all the way to the 1990s. Topps would produce cards for the US markets, while o-pee-chee would produce cards for the Canadian market. Things were going steadily until the 1990s happened. In 1990, Upper Deck, Pro Set, and Score all joined the hockey card market. This resulted in multiple companies battling to win over the marketplace and a mass overproduction of cards. It devalued the overall hobby and frustrated a lot of collectors. Pro Set ended up dropping off in just 3 years due to the lower quality of their card. And by the mid-1990s, o-pee-chee actually merged into Topps, and Upper Deck emerged as a main rival in the industry due to their quality of their cards. As the late 1990s approached, we saw companies be licensed by the NHL and NHLPA to produce more than one set per season. This came alongside the introduction of hard-to-find inserts, and the results of both of these was that a lot of collectors were frustrated and pushed away from the hobby because a lot of them were focused on collecting their entire team's cards, and these hard to find inserts and all these different sets made it hard to do so and expensive to do so. This actually led to a reshaping of the card world as we know it. Now, typically the older a card is, the more value it has, but that doesn't apply to the early 1990s cards. The mass production was so bad that even cards of the top rookies like Jaromir Jagr and Pavel Bure are worth practically nothing. Something you see a lot in card collecting is people who have stumbled upon a massive collection of cards from the 1990s and think they've uncovered a treasure, only to be extremely disappointed that the cards are only worth the paper that they're printed on. The next major shift in the hockey card industry occurred in 2005. However, it is worth mentioning that in the late 1990s and early 2000s, there were two more companies that came into the hockey card market. Those included In the Game and Pacific Trading Cards. Now, let's get to 2005, and there was an NHL lockout, and after the lockout had wrapped up, Upper Deck actually acquired an exclusive license to be the only company to make officially licensed NHL trading cards. This led to both Topps and Pacific dropping out of the industry entirely, and In the Game reinventing themselves by producing non-licensed hockey cards that mainly featured top prospects and retired players. In fact, they actually acquired a CHL license and were doing some really cool CHL stuff along the way. In Upper Deck's first year with their exclusive license, they released one of the most iconic and highly sought-after products of all time. In 2005-2006, Upper Deck the Cup made its debut at about $600 per box and only featured around 6 premium cards packaged together in a tin. Now, words and pictures really don't do these cards justice. You need to see them in person to get a true appreciation for this set because they're printed on a super thick cardstock. It was really innovative at the time. Everything was on-card autographs. The entire theming of the set was just it gave the entire product a really premium feel, and they remained some of the biggest chase cards to this day, including Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin rookie patch autos. The next major shift in the hockey card industry occurred in 2010 when Upper Deck's reign of exclusivity ended. Panini America acquired a license to produce officially licensed NHL trading cards for the 2010-11 season, and this was a move that was both really good and bad for the overall industry. On one hand, Panini brought a lot of innovation and new product to the table, which injected some life into it, which was good for the overall hobby. However, their introduction was met with a lot of resistance from veteran card collectors. These card collectors were still haunted and scarred by the 1990s when mass overprinting began, and were very worried the same thing was going to happen again. To a certain extent, it kind of did. The companies had a number of sets that felt very similar, and so it led to a lot of collectors feeling like they were collecting the same cards twice, and it was getting very tiring. With all that being said, the actual biggest issue that was introduced in this time frame were more player exclusive contracts. What these contracts essentially did was bind a certain player to a certain company, so their cards or their autographs would only be featured in the company's products. For example, Wayne Gretzky had a deal with Upper Deck and Gordie Howe had a deal with Panini. That meant you couldn't find Wayne Gretzky cards in Panini products and you couldn't find Gordie Howe cards in Upper Deck products, which from a collector standpoint is a very poor experience. However, for the two companies, it is a business and they were trying to kind of get as much of a stance as they could on the marketplace. So things kind of remained that way up until 2014, where once again Upper Deck regained the exclusive license for NHL trading cards in the 2014-15 season. This once again led to another major shift in the hockey card market because, one of the officially licensed companies no longer was producing hockey cards anymore. It was just Upper Deck producing officially licensed NHL trading cards, and then In the Game actually partnered with Leaf at the same time, with the end result of Leaf requiring all of In the Game assets and trade names. This led to them having a little bit more power in the marketplace, and it actually led to more exclusive player contracts specifically regarding prospects. This biggest issue occurred with Jack Eichel, Nico Hischier, and Nolan Patrick, where they all had exclusive deals with Leaf, which meant that their autographed cards weren't featured in Upper Deck products. And another major thing actually happened in 2015, where Upper Deck and Tim Horton partnered up to produce a new hockey card set at the start of NHL season, and it has really reignited the hobby with many new collectors due to the low price point of the packs and the ease of availability. You can go to your local Timmy's and get a pack for $1 whenever you get your coffee or your hot chocolate or whatever you get. And it just became a super highly collected set. In fact, it's one of the most collected sets that I see whenever I'm at a trade show because people always want to finish their sets from them. And that takes us up to the 2019-20 season, where Upper Deck remains the exclusive manufacturer of NHL trading cards, and Leaf is still producing non-licensed NHL cards. Also, Panini actually just emerged this year with their own non-licensed NHL trading cards, featuring their two exclusive autographed players in Kaapo Kakko and Vitaly Kravtsov. Also, in Russia, Serial produces KHL trading cards, which are pretty cool if you follow the KHL. Overall, the market for hockey cards has started to slowly regain momentum after a bit of a downturn, thanks in large part to the Tim Hortons partnership. Local card shows are more frequently attended, and we're seeing more and more people take interest in the hobby of collecting cards again, which makes it a really exciting time for anyone to get into the hobby. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something new. Let me know what your favorite part of the video was, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Stay tuned for the next episode where we'll be going over the basic of collecting hockey cards, including different products and key terms that you'll need to know. As always, take it easy. Catch you guys on the flop side. Peace.